hear me okay? Awesome. So I'm aware that I only have 10 minutes, and so I'm just going to get straight into it by asking everyone a question. And it's really simple, so don't worry. And it's just this. Has anyone here ever been to the London Underground, particularly during rush hour? Okay, can I just see a few hands? If you've been to the London... Wow! Okay, that's quite a lot. It's quite a lot for you. Now, for those who haven't been to the London Underground, there's a picture behind. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because the London Underground is a really busy place. There's loads of people who have just finished work, everyone's rushing back. There is so much hustle, so much bustle. And I don't know if any of you else relate to this, but it's really stuffy in the London Underground, isn't it? Yeah. There's no ventilation down there, so it's really hot, really stuffy, really claustrophobic. And even when you get on the train, there's that horrible sound. I don't know if any of you know it. And it's the sound of the train on the tracks, and it's that horrible screeching sound. Do you guys know? The London Underground during rush hour is an extremely busy place. But the busiest place of all isn't an external thing. For me, it's an internal thing. The busiest place of all is in here, is in my mind. And in our minds, there are often so many voices that are telling us to strive for things. There are voices that tell us to strive to be a certain type of person. There are voices that tell us to strive that we have to get the best grades, we have to try and get the best job, that we have to try and get to a Russell Group university. And I'm sure many of you can relate to this. There are voices that tell us that we aren't doing a good enough job at things, that we need to be better. I feel like that a lot sometimes. I have to be better at things. I'm failing. I'm not doing a good enough job. Our minds are busy places. And my question to everyone here is your mind a busy place at the moment? Is your mind a busy place at the moment? If that's you and you're thinking, yes, my mind is a busy place at the moment, there is such good news. And when my mind has been in that place of restlessness, there's been one verse which has spoken to me. And that verse is, it's going to come up on the screen behind. It's be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Now, I know this is a really well-known verse. Many of you have probably seen it on notebooks and T-shirts. It's one of those popular Christian verses that you see scattered around everywhere. But this is a significant verse to me, which God has been speaking to me about. And I want to share it with you all today. But before I do, just for a bit of context, this verse initially spoke to the Israelites, which were God's people, and they were under this constant, crippling threat from surrounding enemy nations. They were in a restless place. And actually, the beginning of that verse, be still, can be translated into cease striving. When the Israelites were in this place of constant fear and constant chaos, God wasn't telling the Israelites to go and take action and know that I'm God. He was saying, be still and know that I am God. Now, I know for many of us, we aren't in a physical war like that, but we are in an internal war. I'm sure many of you relate to this. There's a war inside our minds going on. And in that place, in that restlessness, God says to us, be still and know that I am God. Now, a few weeks ago, I was on holiday and I went to Bournemouth. And the place where I was staying had a swimming pool. And when I go swimming, I love to do star floats. Now, I'm not sure if that's a professional term, but just go with it. So what a star float is, you lie on your back like this, and you let the water hold you up. But for a long time, I couldn't master the star float. And I realized what I was doing wrong.
I realized that I was so scared that the water wouldn't hold me up. I was tensing my muscles and I would sink. And then I realized if I relax my muscles and I trust that the water's going to hold me up, then I float. And I think this is a little bit what God is saying to us when he says, be still. And when we feel our minds are in that restless place with all those voices telling us, all we need to do is we need to lean back into his arms and trust him. I think when God commands us to be still, he is also reminding us of who we are. We're human, and we forget that sometimes. And God doesn't always require us to move or take action. He requires us to be still and know that he is God. He is in control, not us. Now, God calls us to be still, but also to know that I am God. And how do we know who God is? How do we know what he's like? Well, we look to Jesus. It is through Jesus' life, death, and resurrection that we see the perfect picture of who God is. When Jesus died on that cross, he took all the guilt and shame and sin onto himself. And this was a momentous moment. The barrier between us and God had been completely shattered. It is completely gone. And that means for me and you, on a mundane, day-to-day basis, we can come into the presence of a holy God. Wow. And my question for you is, do you personally know Jesus like that? Do you have a personal relationship with Jesus today, this very day? If not, he wants to invite you to have a relationship with you. He is craving a personal relationship with you. And it's only in that place of knowing Jesus and having a personal relationship with him where you find true stillness for your mind. It is in that place of knowing Jesus where you can cease striving, where you can relax. The key to a still mind is fully knowing Jesus, but also trusting that he is in control, not you. You're not in control, he is. Now, as I start to draw to an end, I just want to share some things that practically help me to live this verse out. Be still and know that I am God. And the first thing, number one, is to go to a quiet place. It's as simple as that. Sometimes removing yourself from all the external noise that you've got going on around you and taking yourself to a quiet place can really quiet your mind. So I like to go on a walk in some fields around my house. And when I'm there, every time, without fail, God speaks to me, even if it's in the smallest way. He always speaks to me. And number two is remind ourselves of truth. Sometimes when our minds are in that restless place, it's so easy to forget who God is. And so what I do when I'm going throughout my day is I just repeat simple truths over myself. I just whisper to myself, Lord, you are powerful. Lord, you are in control. Lord, you have set me free. I just repeat those over myself throughout the day. And another way I like to remind myself of truth is worship. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but worship. I like to sing the truth and proclaim the truth. And number three is community. But I'm particularly referring to those close friendships, those really close friendships where you can come to your friends and be so real, so open with them. I know that for me, I have that one friend, I can just completely tell her how I'm feeling, and she comes back at me with biblical truth that I need to hear. Do you have friends like that? If you don't, pray, and God will give you friends. I prayed, and the Lord gave me friends. Now, just a question to end, and that is, how are you going to be still with God this week? I just want to share a really quick story. And that was 2 Sundays ago. I was coming to church, and my mind was in that really restless place. And I prayed in the car on the way here, and I said, Lord, please can you help me to slow down? I need your rest because I don't feel restful. And it was only after the church service that I realized how God answered my prayer. And it was in the most unexpected way. And it was a little boy, he came up to me just at the back, and he wanted to play some games with me. And then he wanted to walk, so we went on little walks just up and down the back, and obviously it was very slow because he was only about 1 or 2. So we went on these very slow walks like this, very, very slow. And that was how God slowed me down, because I had to be present with this little boy and play with him. If you feel your mind is in a restless place this week, if you feel those voices are coming up and they're telling you to strive, they're telling you to find your identity in different things, invite God in. Invite God into that place and remember what God speaks to you. God says to you, be still and know that I am God. Amen. Amen.